Did you notice this intricate design at the far end of Maliketh's boss room? And have you asked yourself what this might be? Well, it is the actual Elden Ring before it was shattered by Marika. Or at least this is what I and also Vatividia believe. In one of his videos, breaking down the Elden Ring lore, he commented on this wall design. He speculated this is perhaps the actual form of the Elden Ring, but didn't go into much detail. As such, I want to do so instead since he basically put this idea into my head. I believe to know how this represents the actual Elden Ring, and also why the Elden Ring we constantly see differs significantly from this design. First off, we have to ask what exactly is the Elden Ring. In Enya's own words, the Elden Ring is the following.
Great Elden Ring, root of the Golden Order, anchor of all lands, giver of grace, wellspring of all joy.
That is the prominent belief in the lands between. The Elden Ring represents the greater will and the concept of order. However, there's more to the Elden Ring than that. For example, was it always in the lands between? And if not, where did it come from? The answer to this question is discovered throughout our journey. For the Elden Ring was sent in the form of the Elden Beast by the Greater Will, and this beast would take on the form of the Elden Ring later on. You could even go so far as to say that the Elden Ring represents the power of the Greater Will. After all, with the Elden Ring at the center of the Golden Order, the lands between were dominated by the Greater Will. This in turn demonstrates another interesting aspect of the Elden Ring. The influence of other Order gods was removed by the Order through Marika and Godfrey, and no god waged war against the Golden Order with the Elden Ring intact. Hence, its full power is possibly so immense that no other Order god could majorly influence the lands between before its shattering. As a result, we can speculate that the Greater Will is perhaps the most powerful god. However, the Elden Ring timeline isn't too clear, like always with From Software games, to be certain that the Greater Will actually banish every outer god. But on the other hand, due to the lack of many major incidents during the Golden Order's prime, we can presume this to be somewhat accurate. Since only after the Elden Ring was shattered did other Order gods actively try to establish their own presence in lands between. As such, it is possible that the Elden Ring was the greatest power in lands between. But with the presence of such a powerful item, you have to ask yourself where it's being stored. So much power is certainly desired by many, and the demigods are a prime example for this. And the answer to this question is a living vessel. Marika is the vessel for the Elden Ring and the wielder of its powers as such, a piece of information we gain through Enya.
Queen Marika is the vessel of the Elden Ring, carrier of its vision.
As to why the Elden Ring requires a living vessel and whether Marika was the very first vessel is a great follow-up question, but we don't get an answer for this. My own assumption is that the Greater Will can only make its presence felt through a vessel wielding its power. As such, without a vessel, its power cannot be manifested to further the Greater Will's goals, and the Greater Will's ultimate goal is presumably to bring order to the lands between. Through representing and establishing order, the Elden Ring nourished a perfect environment to allow life to flourish. In fact, we can even go so far as to say that through order, the Elden Ring represents life itself. And life itself is made up of many different concepts. After all, chaos is shown in the correlating ending that it doesn't allow life to blossom, but instead discourages life and all of its distinguishing features from even existing. Since representing all aspects of life except death due to Marika, it fosters and promotes life as seen in the icon's shield. The shield depicts blessings falling from the earth tree to its worshippers, a pattern similar to an apple tree's harvest sustaining man by providing food. And as the shield describes this event during the Age of Plenty, it stands to show how powerful the whole Elden Ring is or whether was. This in turn will explain the abundance of blessings from the earth tree which ceased to exist with the shattering of the Elden Ring. With this, we now know everything there is about the Elden Ring. However, this raises the following question. Isn't it strange then that we can collect only such a meager number of great wounds, which in total don't cover all aspects of life, or whether our character stats? There are certainly more shards in this game than we can currently collect. and the only common proof for their existence is that they are hinted at throughout the game. These missing shards are associated with the following characters. The first two missing great runes are connected to demigods, with Rani being the most prominent one. There are speculations by the Elden Ring community that the shape on the moon actually is Rani's great rune. Whether that is true remains to be seen in future Elden Ring content, but I personally agree with the notion that this is Rani's great rune. If we compare the moon's pattern and the Elden Ring's actual design, we can see this pattern somewhat within this design. As for the power of this great rune, you're welcome to share your guesses with me in the comments below. Another inaccessible demigod rune for now is Mikola's great rune. There's nothing I can say about this rune since there are no actual hints in the game alluding to its powers. Whether the rune actually even exists is a mystery, just like Mikola himself. Hence why I'm not going to talk about it, but maybe instead in another video dedicated fully to Mikola. As such, let's focus instead on other great runes from characters we actually know something about. There are in fact quite many Tarnished that came before us in their quest to become Elden Lord, who certainly hold two great runes. Let's start off with the most obvious one. Gideon Ofnir definitely holds two great runes. This is confirmed through a line of dialogue from Enya.
Only once before have I seen two great runes together. The fingers expect as much from you as they do young Gideon.
In order to be granted an audience with the two fingers, Gideon Ofnir also had to procure two great runes to be granted the right of becoming Elden Lord. The effects of his great runes, or even how Gideon got them, are unknown and pretty much just speculation. But I believe that these runes allow him to cast in a rapid succession every spell and incantation in the game. As such, my best guess is that his great runes are related to magic. Moving on to another pair of Tarnished who were on the brink of becoming Elden Lord, we have Bernal and Vike. Also like us and Gideon, they must have procured two great runes each in order to enter Leyndell and see the impenetrable thorns. This in turn guided them down to the Forge of the Giants, where they decided against becoming Elden Lord and go down a different path. As to from where they got their great runes or what their powers are is pure speculation. And to be honest, I don't have the slightest guess as to what these powers could be. But those are all the Tarnished of which we know of that presumably obtained great runes. Including Rani and Mikola, we already have 8 great runes unaccounted for, but there are still 2 more runes. We see 2 other great runes throughout the game associated with Marika and Radagon. Within their sword seals as well as their statues, we see 2 distinguishable patterns. The in quotation T-posing pattern is associated with Marika and the meshes pattern belongs to Radagon. What each of them does is, like with the others, unknown. I presume that Marika's rune replaced the rune of death, which allowed her and the rest of the lands between to become immortal. While the effect of Radagon's rune is seemingly to fix the Shattered Elden Ring, I cannot see Radagon's pattern within the Elden Ring's design in Maliketh's boss arena. As such, I believe this rune has been created by Radagon himself to hold the fragments of the Elden Ring together. I plan to discuss this topic in a follow-up video, so subscribe if you are like me curious about this. But not to digress from the actual topic of this video, all of these 10 great runes exist within the Elden Ring lore. As such, there are shards missing from the Elden Ring we see within Radagon and on the cover of the game. As a result, the symbol in Maliketh's boss arena makes sense to be the actual Elden Ring. We can deduce this through the 10 inaccessible great runes, as well as the effect the Elden Ring had on the lands between prior to the Shadowing. As such, this depiction can give us a hint as to how many shards potentially exist and how many more great runes we'll hopefully get in future Elden Ring content. If you agree or disagree with my notions, then tell me in the comments all about it, and I will try to engage with you about your ideas and theories. So, until next time, ciao!